This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, this universal energy life force. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, we are welcoming of all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a destination, or journey rather, not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, we refer to ourselves as guides rather than hosts, as we too are traveling, supporting, and learning on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide today, Tracy Seawright. And today it is an honor and privilege to have our guest, Tina Clarke. Welcome, Tina Clarke, to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So let me tell our listeners all about you. So Tina Clarke, as a little girl, she always picked up feelings around her, and noticed details that would be taken for granted. She always had an empath and felt other people's feelings and energies. After training and studying many metaphysical subjects, she started to realize information she was receiving was valid and not random. Her mission is to help others who feel they have tried everything to heal and is willing to explore effective healing modalities and approaches that will heal their soul, clear blocks, and move forward joyfully in their authentic life. She has certifications in Azui Tibetan, Holy Fire Reiki Master Teacher, Theta Healing, Access Bar Consciousness, Integrative Energy Therapy, Angel Card Reader, Realm Reader, Intuitive Counseling, Stone Readings, Meditation, EFT and TFT, Life Purpose Coach, trained in Shamanism, Tarot, Akashic Records, Psychic Mediumship, Energetic Clearings of People and Property, Thai Massage Techniques, Herbal healing methods using essential oils and herbs, crystal healing. And in addition to that, she is a grid keeper, dragon heart, and crystal keeper, and starseed. Lot of modalities here. How wonderful. So welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki. So Tina, tell us a little bit about yourself. I gave our listeners just a bit of information about you, but tell us.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from New York City and grew up in the city till the late 90s and then was done with that and moved to the DC area. I used to work for the federal government. And I don't do that anymore, obviously. Um, and I just was not happy in my job and found that I was always thinking outside the box and everybody else wanted me to fit in the box. And I could not, I tried my darndest, but I could not play in the box.
That happens with healers now.
Yeah. So I kind of had some bad experiences and I walked away from that career and all the education, related to that because I did get a master's degree in that area. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do right now, but I know I had just gotten married and I was like, well, time to have kids then. So while I had two girls and that time and my spare time, I would, you know, explore things. And sometime in the early 2010s, I started meditating. And I was noticing a lot and hearing a lot and seeing a lot. And I started being curious about all these other metaphysical subjects. So that's when I kind of dived in and I never got out of it. I'm still in it. Um, yeah, and then in 2014, I took a tarot class from a Reiki teacher, and I loved it. And she helped me understand some of my abilities, which included mediumship. I didn't really have any idea that I was a medium, but she was like, "Regular people don't dream of dead people, Tina." And I was like, "Oh, really? Are you sure?" I thought everybody did. So I ended up taking all Reiki training under her, Usui Tibetan, and also she also taught shamanism. So I learned a shamanic journey and do soul retrievals by her. And then naturally that led to, removing attachments and guiding souls into the light and doing secret ceremony.
All right, beautiful. So you shedded a little bit of light on the beginning of your journey with Reiki. So tell us, did Reiki find you or did you find Reiki?
I think Reiki kind of found me, but in the beginning, I was like, I'm not sure about this. I had a friend who was a Reiki master, so she introduced me to it and she practiced on me once. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. Okay. I don't know if this is something I want to learn. It wasn't like immediately, oh, I need to do this. But once I met my teacher, I just loved how she taught. We really were synchronized and in alignment together. We had a lot in common. And so basically, when I met her, I was like, teach me whatever you know. And it went
Beautiful.
on from there.
And it only takes that one teacher to really pique that curiosity.
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful. So lots of modalities that you have experience in doing this for a while. With your work, what is a common misperception that you're finding out there?
It's kind of a mixed bag. Like, uh, there are people, obviously, people are seeking me out because they are looking for answers or they're open to trying very different modalities. Um, but I don't think have people have a misperception because I don't think they really know what we do as Reiki practitioners in depth. So there's no misperception.
Right.
I always relate Reiki, hands-on healing, and I always bring in Jesus because everybody knows who he is. And I said, Jesus laid his hands on people and healed them. What do you think he was doing?
Right, right,
And no one
right.
can argue with that. I mean, it's literally in the Bible. They probably didn't call it Reiki. They probably, I don't know what they called it back then, but it's essentially the same thing.
Right, right. That phrase or the term Reiki can be found, I think the earliest is in 1919 by a book that mentions it in there by a psychiatrist. Yeah, oftentimes misperception is people think that maybe it's woohoo or it's not Christian. So they often see it through a different type of lens. So you often have to answer many questions for those who don't really understand the purpose of it. So.
Yeah, but I say, I have a whole sheet in one of my manuals of all these quotes in the Bible of how Jesus healed this person, put his hands on this person, cast out spirits, did all this stuff. And no one really argues with me after that. They're like, yeah, it's
Wonderful.
it's in there.
Wonderful. So, in this industry, what has been the biggest challenge facing it with this industry of healing?
Well, that being said, I know you probably can relate to this. I really have to explain what Reiki is a lot. And you have to explain it in terms that people can understand. And we struggle with the vocabulary because our vocabulary is not advanced enough, I believe, to really reflect on what Reiki really is and what spirituality is. So it's always a struggle to do that. And um, I don't know, sometimes I think because Reiki is a Japanese word and people don't know what that means, don't know how to pronounce it, could be an obstacle. But I say everybody needs Reiki. And if you didn't know that, you're you're going to learn that. I mean, everybody is so stressed out right now and overwhelmed. And Reiki is a wonderful cure for that.
It sure is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So, in this profession for quite a while, lots of different modalities here. What is something that everyone in your industry should either stop or start doing?
That's a tough question. One thing I try to encourage my students and my Reiki teacher students is we're not competing with each other. So some of them have come to me and said, well, I don't really want to compete with you because you are in the area. And I said, that's completely, not an issue. It's not, I always say, look at all the doctors all over the place. and people choose the doctor that they like, they connect with. And the same thing with Reiki teachers. You're going to be pulled toward a Reiki teacher that you like, or you may feel like, oh, I want to have three different Reiki teachers. It's all up to you, it's all up to the person. So there's plenty of room for many Reiki practitioners and many Reiki teachers. Let's not worry. That's all scarcity. Let's not worry about that. And I'm waiting for us to be super in demand. I'm waiting for the tipping point. When is this going to happen? But
Right.
in the meantime, keep plugging away, keep talking about it, keep, marketing, keep going on Reiki podcasts and talking about it. And hopefully we'll get to the point where everybody will know what Reiki is and energy healing is, and they'll want to try it or keep doing it.
Right, right. And there is room for everyone. I had a class and did a training, and my husband's like, but you're training your competition. I said, it doesn't work that way. They're going to go because that resonates to them, that they're going to like that person's personality. They're going to be in synchronicity with things. So it doesn't work like that. So, me helping and leveling up someone so they can go out and be of service to others. This is what this is about. So beautiful.
Right. Or even just teaching them a way to heal themselves. That's very easy to do. They could do it for their family and loved ones anytime, anywhere. And we need more healers in the world. I think Diane Stein
Absolutely.
said that. We need more healers in the world.
Yes. Yes. And you're giving people tools for their energetic toolbox. You are giving them that. And that is a gift in itself that they're going to
Right.
continue to use. And then they're going to share that with someone. So you're expanding that territory in a way to equip more healers as we're
And a
going
lot
on
of
this
times
journey.
I have a lot of people coming to me who want to improve their intuition, improve their psychic abilities. Some people have come to me and said, I used to be very psychic and very intuitive, and I stopped doing it as a child and I can't get it back. That's a really tough scenario, but I
Yeah.
always encourage Reiki training for this because Reiki is a natural way for you to become more intuitive. It gives you a practice, a modality to practice your intuition and your clairvoyance or your clairaudience or whatever you want to work on. You can do that within Reiki. So I always encourage people, if you want to get better at this, take Reiki level 1 and start practicing.
Absolutely. And people, this are curious beginner, you don't have to go into this and be a practitioner, be a teacher. You can simply, this can be a stepping stone and opening up those abilities. Or, hey, you know what? I like this, but wait a minute, I'm going to do angel card reading or I'm going to do stone reading. And it can level you up and you're going to just continue on that journey. And you may, not ever teach or bring Reiki in, but you can do it on yourself and that helps you with your abilities. But you have all these other modalities that you can keep bringing in and have just something beautiful for that particular person that you are perfect for, that you're going to help heal.
Yeah, this is an a la carte scenario. You get to pick and choose what you want to
Absolutely.
do. I've
Absolutely.
learned a lot over the years, and I don't do all of the things that I've learned because I didn't feel really called to do them, or, I didn't really feel like that's something I wanted to do. So you can pick and choose.
Hmm.
You don't have to do everything that you learned. You
Right.
just do what makes you happy and excited and
Right.
fills your soul.
Right. Right. It's kind of like you go to a buffet. You don't have to pile all that food on your plate, right? Even though it's there. You're trained in these different things and use them when it comes up. You may have that, need, a situation may happen in your life, a crisis. You have those tools that you can pull from.
Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, what is something that your younger self would have wished to know about your current profession?
I mean, ideally, I would have had someone in the family who was helping me with my abilities because I do feel like I have family members that have those abilities, but they never talked about them. They never did anything with them, and they still don't do anything with them. So, and
Right.
and you hear all these wonderful stories where my grandmother, knew I was special, and we would have I had none of that. So, I think I was very accepting of my abilities. I was just afraid of them as a child because, I didn't want to see anything scary. That was the number one thing. I didn't want to see anything scary. So, I kind of blocked them all out. But luckily, when I started practicing, they came, rushing back and became stronger and stronger with practice. So I guess I was one of the lucky ones that figured out how to unblock myself.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, our next question is when it is time for you to get your Reiki tune up or even to refer someone, what qualities do you look for in a Reiki practitioner?
Ideally, I'm looking for someone with a lot of experience because there's all kinds of Reiki practitioners out there. Some people use it just for their families, which is fine. But I find I've worked on hundreds of people, and I find that with nothing can replace experience and working on others and working on people from all different backgrounds and issues and challenges. And the more you work on others, the more you understand yourself because they're reflecting back to you what you need to work on yourself. So that's a great way to get to know yourself. I mean, it might actually get uncomfortable if you don't like it, but you know how you're seeing clients and certain patterns come up over and over? Like right now, the pattern is throat chakra issues, right? I get a lot of people with those. Anxiety, that's another thing. A lot of people are very anxious. So I would love to have someone who is very experienced, has worked on a lot of people. But you know what? I love receiving Reiki from anyone. And I do love receiving Reiki because I always learn from the Reiki practitioner because everybody does things differently. I had a Reiki session in Kauai when I was there last year, and she put me on this bed that was full of water. It's like a water massage bed. And she kind of like wiggled me around on the bed and gave me Reiki, which was so very interesting. But I mean, it was just like this is how she did it. She kind of just moved your body and it was very relaxing because the waterbed completely held you, like in this nice little cloud cushion. So, and she would just kind of move you and wiggle you back and forth and give you Reiki. And I have never had a Reiki session like that before.
Wow, neither have I. I've had it by the beach with the water in the background, but how interesting. And that just shows you right there that there's no wrong way to do this.
Right,
Everyone's going to be
right.
different. We could even all be in the same training together and end the training and go out and still do it differently.
Well,
And
that's what
that's
I
the beauty
love
of it.
about Reiki. It's so flexible and there's not a lot of rules to it. It's not like I have to do 1 through 20 steps. And that's you can make it your own. Like take the essential practice and then use your intuition to make it your own. And I love that. And that's why I always stuck with Reiki. 9 years later, I still actively do Reiki because not only it's very flexible, I'm always learning. There's always something new that happens. There's always a new challenge. And I'm the kind of person that needs that kind of variety to stay interested in what I'm doing. And Reiki does that.
Wonderful. Love that. So, as a teacher, practitioner, experienced in all these modalities, what advice would you give someone who is just entering the profession?
Practice, practice, practice. I say this to all my students. When you learn, I'm giving you the tools to learn, but you're not going to really understand how it works unless you practice. And I highly recommend working on others. Like I said, you really learn a lot about how energy flow feels like, how Reiki feels like as a giver, and your recipients will tell you what it feels like to you. So there's this great feedback loop. And um, there's practice. I keep saying it all the time, but it's really super important. And, with anything, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it.
Yep. It's like a muscle. You got to get it stronger. How you get it stronger? Got to work at it.
Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, what books do you recommend? And they don't necessarily have to be about Reiki. It can be books that inspired you along your journey.
Wow. I read a lot of books. I honestly have not read a lot of books about Reiki because to me, Reiki is really about practice, about doing it. So, and I don't know about you, but my manuals that I've received are chock full of information. I mean, that's why I love teaching Reiki because every time I look at the manuals, something else new gets my attention.
Right, right,
Right?
right. Yeah,
But I would
absolutely.
say in the beginning, when I first started diving into spiritual books, Conversations with God is wonderful. The Celestine Prophecy does a very good job of describing what energy is like. Even though they don't call it Reiki, he's talking about energy in there and how we affect each other and how some people take energy from others. And it's a great book for that. Um, I really love reading books about Lemuria right now, just because in my shamanic experience, I keep going there. And so I'm like, okay, and I've heard of Lemuria for a while, but I read this one. My favorite book this year is called Child of the Stars by J.L. Sullivan, and it's a channeled book. She was under hypnosis and remembered this lifetime in Lemuria, and it is awesome. And I emailed her and I told her, your book is amazing. And we went back and forth. She answered me
Wonderful.
and we shared some experiences, and that was a great book. But I love channeled books by Robert Shapiro. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he does the Explorer Race series.
Mhm.
Man, those are good, especially the ones that are about the creator and the council of creators and where they came from and why they're doing what they're doing and why our particular creator created Earth and this solar system. I mean, it's fascinating stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you for all that. I'm having to take some notes on some books. I need to go back on my reading list. So thank you for sharing that. So it is the part of our question where we ask, what do you offer? Do you offer classes and trainings or sessions? Let us know, online or in person.
Yeah, so my business is called Stargazing Angel, and I'm located in Charleston, South Carolina. And I teach in-person classes, but I also teach online. I do have video classes available on my website in Reiki and in shamanism. I teach Usui Tibetan Reiki, all the levels. So from one to teacher. I teach 4 shamanism classes, shamanic journeying, soul retrievals, spirit releasement, and sacred ceremony. I usually do those on person, but not always. Sometimes I do it online. I have a class, I have all sorts of classes because I have people coming to me asking me to teach them certain things, and then I'll develop a class. So I have an intuitive tarot class and a psychic abilities class, which is brand new. I'm going to be teaching that next year. And the funny thing is I started my notes on that class 6 years ago. and never taught it. And finally, somebody said, "Hey, I think I want to learn this." Um, so yeah, I teach all sorts of different classes. I might teach a life purpose class next year based on like spiritual type of careers because I had someone ask me to. So if you're interested in learning something, let me know, and I'll put the class out or create the class. I actually love to create classes.
Perfect. So how can someone get in touch with you? You mentioned your website, email, or social media. Where can they get a hold of you?
So Facebook, Stargazing Angel, and Instagram, Stargazing Angel Charleston is the handle. And my website is my name, tinakinneyclarke.com. Tons of information there. Even a blog that goes back to 2014 is on that website.
Wonderful. So, our listeners, if you're down in Charleston, South Carolina, fun fact, I lived in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina for 14 years, and that's where all my children were born. So, lived down there near Bell Hall, in Bell Hall subdivision in Mount Pleasant.
It's a nice area. I live in Somerville, which is one of the towns outside
Yep, I've been there.
Charleston.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And the funny thing is people will be looking for a Reiki practitioner
Mhm.
and they'll find me and they're like, "What are you doing here in Somerville?" And then
Right,
they'll come to my neighborhood. "What are you doing living in this neighborhood?" I was like,
right.
"You know
It's
what?
all beautiful, Somerville, West Ashley, Isle Palms,
Yeah."
beautiful area.
It's like I have kids; they need to go to school, so bought the house near the schools.
Sure, makes sense. That's what I did. That's what I did. All right, well, this is the end of our Ready, Set, Reiki questions, and I'm going to take you on the other journey of the questions for social media. So we have listeners, we ask them for questions, they send them in, and I narrow them down to three for each of our guests. So here is the first question. What or who inspires you as a Reiki practitioner or slash teacher?
Hmm. I would say it's interesting because my mentors, they don't do a lot of Reiki.
That's okay. They still
It's
can
kind of
inspire you.
ironic.
That
Yeah,
you have all these other things you do. What inspires you? So,
yeah, yeah. It's kind of ironic, but my I call her my Reiki grandmother. So my Reiki teacher's teacher, Teresa. I just think she's wonderful. She grew up with a lot of trauma. And we've had lots of discussions about how we were afraid a lot as children and how, as adult women, we refuse to be afraid. And I completely admire her for that. And she's willing to try big things for me, with me, big clearings. We actually did a clearing of the Antietam battlefield, which, for those of you who don't know, is the bloodiest Civil War battle. And she's willing to do those kind of things with me. I have another friend who's older than me. She's also a shaman, and I admire her because even all of the things that have happened to her, she never stops working on herself. She never gives up. And she will do a lot of traveling. And traveling will stir up your stuff. And she
absolutely.
will do a lot of traveling and we'll travel together. And we met in France on a tour. But, it stirs up all her issues. But she keeps doing it because that's like her mission. It's her mission to help heal herself, to clear herself, and she doesn't stop. And I admire that so much.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Our second question is how can Reiki help someone going forward on their healing path?
Well, like I mentioned, Reiki is a great modality to practice your intuition, to focus your mind and clear your mind. It's a wonderful modality for that. So many people have monkey mind, and I suffered from that too, where you couldn't turn off your thoughts and all these bad thoughts would come in. And with practice and focus, when you're working on someone, you have to clear your mind. This person has only so much time with you. You can't sit there and be thinking about what to make for dinner. You have to focus on their energy, where the Reiki is needed the most. What messages am I getting? What information am I getting on them? So, you have to be clear, you have to be focused, because your time is limited. I may never see someone after one session.
All right. And that leads in perfectly to our third and final question. How many Reiki sessions do you recommend for someone?
I think ideally 3. I think I'm very good at what I do, and we can see great things after one session. But if you have a long-term challenge, something that chronic pain for years and years, or, an emotional issue that's long-term, we need to get at it in 3 sessions is perfect. And then we'll see after that. Because sometimes, you know how it works. You see, it takes a couple of tries. For me, the information doesn't always come right away. It may come in the second session or the third session. And then we'll figure it out if that's the root cause, clear it. And if your issue goes away, that ding, 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 that was the answer.
Right, right. And it can be cumulative as well. So it can't always be that one and done.
Right.
How many years holding on to that baggage? Rome can't be built in a day, right?
Right. And sometimes you're able to clear something and then a year later it comes back.
Absolutely.
And something, because whatever created it, that person is still doing.
Right.
And so they haven't unlearned that, or they haven't,
right.
And so the issue comes back.
Right, right. And that's what's beautiful about the Holy Fire Reiki. I'm also trained in as well. That there's a spirit release in there that helps heal that unhealed part, so it doesn't reattach again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that energy work is so important. Yeah. All right. So that wraps up our questions. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners that you may have not touched upon during the interview?
I really want to emphasize that Reiki is very relaxing. And for many of you who have chronic pain, when you're relaxed, you're not going to feel that pain. So we need to get you, if you have those challenges, we need to get you as stress-free as possible and in an area where you're not stressed out, because stress makes everything worse. Yeah. And if you haven't tried Reiki, find a Reiki practitioner. Just try it. Just try it once. Like I said, this is an a la carte thing. You don't have to do it forever. Try it and see how you feel. You may really love it.
Right. And even if you don't want to physically see someone, there's so many options online to go on and listen to it just in the privacy of your own home, because you can do this distantly as well. So you don't have to necessarily have someone touch you if you have any trauma where you do not like someone touching you. Just listen and allow the energy to flow.
Yeah. And I don't know if you do distant sessions, but I do. And I do distant sessions. So we're not limited to being there in person. You can receive the healing long distance.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tina, for being a guest on Ready, Set, Reiki. It was an absolute privilege. As we wrap up, Millie always says a tagline, so I'm going to say it for her. To see beauty in life is a choice, so choose wisely. So if you are interested in checking out more about Ready, Set, Reiki, check us out at www.readysetreiki.com. And find out about us. And maybe one of your questions can be featured on our podcast. So I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this is Ready, Set, Reiki.